Hello. That was a lot of fun. We are live from Neville Arena. Jack Pilgrim with Stephen Peak. What an absolute performance. This was one that I don't think many expected. 70-59, Kentucky goes to the Plains and just beats the ever-living hell out of the Auburn Tigers. This was something that 3 days in the making. They leave the South Carolina beatdown, 40-point win, and immediately go set up their tents. And it is just 3 straight days of partying in Pearlville with Mario Kart and poker and pizza parties. It was just everything you could dream of for an atmosphere. Then College Game Day comes to town and the crowd is awesome and they're into it. And Bruce Pearl comes out and he just gives the best fist bump in the world. And then Kentucky comes in to their home and kicks their ass. Stephen.
Nobody saw it coming. No one saw it coming except for this guy. I've never seen Jack more confident. I came into this game. We talked on the way down here. I said that I didn't have much hope. I was like, I'm gonna watch this team play, and I'm not gonna get upset about losses or whatever happens. This will be the toughest road environment they'll play all season. How could I expect them to come out of it with a win? You, on the other hand, had a much different approach, and you told us confidently, Stephen, they're going to win. They're winning this game. And I wanted to believe you. I really did. This was an amazing atmosphere. It made it so much more fun to watch all of them leaving early, leaving with time on the clock. They don't experience losses here very often, and you can tell this was an angry building.
Broke the longest home winning streak in the SEC. It's 16 games. They were 13-0 this season.
Was this not one of the angriest, fans that you've seen? I mean, they were ready to come after the officiating crew.
And that was part of that presser room was one of the most bizarre and tip of the cap performances, theatrics I've seen in a minute with both John Calipari and Bruce Pearl. But on that note, Bruce Pearl spent more time complaining to the officials and just blowing a gasket from start to finish instead of coaching his own team. And he coached panicked, and it was very bizarre because he's just known as this charismatic, wears his emotions on his sleeve, as confident as they come. And it's I think when he saw Kentucky come in and throw the first punch, I think they knew what was coming, and it felt like that panic was there from start to finish. Stephen, this was 70-59, where Kentucky holds Auburn to 30.9% shooting, 18% from three. This is a top 10 offense and top 10 defense, and Kentucky puts forth its best all-around effort of the entire season in a game that, and again, we talked about, I guess, my confidence of where it came from. It wasn't anything with the sample size and what we had seen leading up to this point, the momentum building toward this. I loved what we saw from Kentucky against Ole Miss, but it was more of the backs against the wall, nobody in the world believing that Kentucky could come in and do this, shorthanded down Trey Mitchell, the opening line, the most since, you guessed it, the Tennessee game, road trip to Knoxville last season, where very similar vibes, Stephen, where everybody expected Kentucky last year to go into Knoxville and just get their teeth knocked in. And they not only go and carve out a win and beat the spread, they go in and win outright and beat the tar out of them, win by 12 points. And I kind of had that same vibe waking up. I didn't really feel it going into the day, but I woke up this morning and was like, this game kind of has an eerie feeling to it where not a single person publicly believes in this team's ability to do it. And that was kind of the message that Coach Cal had at his presser, where he comes in and it's a sea of media members. I mean, packed in
national guys,
packed in like sardines, every seat filled, standing room only. And he walks in and it's like that switch flipped for him. He walks in and he just kind of welcome to my press conference. I am sitting on the throne right here. Enjoy this. And just one by one message after another, nitpicking this. Hey, remember when you guys said this? He went out of his way to get the guys that had pre-written their national columns of why this is the demise of Kentucky basketball, why they are no longer a blue blood, why Coach Cal needs to go, who's going to take over the throne once his time inevitably comes to a close at the conclusion of this season. It was a message for those guys.
Yeah. Was Jeff Goodman in the room? I believe he was when.
Oh, he was. He recorded the video to put it on social media, and it wasn't just Jeff. It was
Right,
it was.
right. It was us too, probably.
It was, I mean, that's always going to be something for the local. But I think it was more funny seeing the Auburn media
Yes.
having
Oh
no
my gosh.
idea, and it just going over their head in a way where they're like, "What the hell's he talking about?" He came in, Kentucky came in and curb stomped us on our home floor, made the statement win that they needed desperately, and like he comes in just guns a-blazing, rapid fire, and that you could just tell like. When the press conference wrapped up, he stood up and just kind of like did his finger point, finger guns, walked out of the room, and like they just all started laughing. They all started like chuckling because they were like, "What the hell was that?"
We had people next to me that were just like, "What? Like, yeah, like what? I've never seen anything like that before. Like we've covered Saban, he does some weird stuff. Never seen that. That was one of the more like, is this really? I mean, I'm looking at it through the camera, which is always I feel like I'm separated from reality just a little bit with the screen, and I'm looking. I had to look at Cal. I was like, is he really doing this right now? But look, selectively swaggy Cal is better than a Cal coming in and telling us why they lost the game. So whatever Calipari, I'm saying this not as a media member or anything, as a fan. Whatever you got to do, whoever you got to take shots at to get those wins. This was a different Calipari than I've seen in my 2 years with you guys, with KSR, and it was interesting.
I sent a text to somebody, somebody that would know, that is around the team and knows kind of the inner workings, and I said, I got this weird feeling that we're going to win today. And the response back was, we're winning this game. And that was kind of a like, whoa. And you could tell. I don't want to say that Auburn was unserious during pregame warm-ups, but like Janai Broome was kind of standing there and like staring down Kentucky during its warm-ups, and then with 10 minutes left before tip-off, they were launching half-court shots, and just it was a very like. Do these guys just not, are they not taking this team seriously?
Yeah,
and like the pregame press conferences and the messages, Bruce Pearl said the right things. This is Kentucky still the gold standard of the SEC. That's still the measuring stick for what you want to be in the SEC. So he said the right things, but some of the players were like, yeah, our game plan isn't changing. We're confident in what we do. It almost like this is just another game, when all of the collective programs' actions completely went away from that, completely went against that. It was the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls that you could feel the energy and the vibe coming into today.
Yeah.
And at College game day, and as we got to tip off, I mean, the students were running across the bleachers to get to their seats. I mean, just waiting for that moment to like almost like we've arrived as the blue blood of we've taken over the SEC. And
that's exactly what they thought. Yeah, you're right.
Kentucky comes in and goes, not so fast, we're still daddy. And it was just a cool vibe that
they thought they were going to kick Kentucky's ass.
I think
like everybody in there thought like this is. I mean, I asked so many Auburn fans like, what do you think? Students, regular fans, whatever. They were like, They were trying to be nice to me. They were literally trying to like treat me like I was at the Georgia football game.
Like a pity party.
Yeah, like, it's so nice you guys came here to play this game against us. That's so sweet of you all to show up. But we're going to kick your ass by 20. Jack, this game wasn't really close. It felt closer to me because, like, I'm a fan and I'm watching and I'm like, come on, just get one more bucket. But, I mean, when I came out of the tunnel at one point because I get too nervous. I can't sit over there in that baseline. I'm going to say something stupid, so I can't do that. So I went back, and as I came out, I was like, I looked at the score. I'm listening to the crowd. I'm doing other stuff on, other work stuff, and I come back out, and it's 64-48. And I'm like, oh my, this game's over. Like, it is over. I mean, granted, Auburn came all the way back, couldn't cut it maybe to 7 at that point. But what was it? The one thing I will say that, like, Auburn got some clean looks that didn't go in, but that was usually off a rebound and a second chance. What was Kentucky doing that was like that kind of this offense? This looked like the best team in college basketball just a few days ago.
I mean, part of it was just open looks that they missed, and we've seen all season long those open looks go for the opposing team. So I'm not going to ever complain or
and that's not what I'm doing.
Not in the slightest.
Right.
But to Kentucky's credit, they fought defensively in ways that we have not seen this group all season long. They were, going full court press. We saw them digging in the half court in like the rotations that had been missed time and time again where you're like, dude, what are you doing? Even the baseline out of bounds where it was a, and one look for Auburn, and that was a thorn in our side, and it has been all season long. But that was the anomaly this game. That was the outlier because there wasn't a sequence. There wasn't a string of just like we can't get a stop to save our lives. It was stop after stop after stop, and then once you get the one baseline out of bounds, you're like, oh, here this team goes again, and then you kind of take a step back and realize, man, we really haven't seen a lot of miscues that we have seen time and time again throughout this season. They just found ways to put together a 40-minute stretch of basketball that this team just has not done. And it wasn't the offensive shootout that we're used to seeing. Yeah. This was a defensive rock fight against a top 10 team in both categories, offensive and defensively, and found ways to win in ways that they just haven't shown all season long. It blew my mind the way they were able to beat this team. Not the result, but the how. When I predicted a big win, I said it was going to be a 15-point win, but I had it like 84-69. I thought it was going to be, we were going to see the best offensive version and enough defensive stops. No, we saw an elite defensive effort with a pretty solid all-around offensive effort as well.
I thought that I think they're a really good defensive team. Just watching Kentucky had several possessions where it was just hard to get any type of penetration. They really did a good job of not letting Kentucky get off a lot of threes. I mean, they were guarding Kentucky out near the half-court line and getting up in Reed Shepherd and DJ Wagner, Rob, whoever had the ball. I mean, they were on them. But for Kentucky, like you said, this was a way. They found a way to win. They made some tough buckets. They had tough layups and ones. Adou Thiero had the whole crowd going. Did you see the Auburn fan? I mean, I looked across from where we were. I was sitting with you at that point, and I looked across, and there were just people just like, we all saw that, right? Like their jaws were dropping. That was insane, and it's weird. I don't think I've ever been in a visiting arena for something like that. I mean, outside of Rupp. But there's so many people in Rupp Arena that you still get a little noise. There was like no noise, like aside from like the few Kentucky fans who were like into it. But even the Kentucky fans were just like, there was no noise because they were shocked too. That was, I mean, he rose up and threw that, and he had another dunk down there at the other end in the second half.
And Antonio Reeves was also the dagger thrower too. And talk about a guy that, and I'm pulling my Chris Collinsworth out. Let's talk about a guy. No, Antonio Reeves' ability to hit. I mean, there were 5-ish segments, little sequences in the second half where it could have swung the opposite direction, where this crowd was looking for that, like, we're trying to bring the roof down, just give us the reason to. Give us that one final reason to. And it was Antonio Reeves' tough bucket, Antonio Reeves and one, Antonio Reeves floater, Antonio Reeves left corner dagger. It was one thing after another where you were like, dude, this is his March moment. This is, he had this reputation at times where, he kind of froze in big games. And I mean, it's never been fair to him because it was just a few games where it was unfortunately kind of just louder because of the significance of the games. But this is a dude that has now gone, I think, 9 true road games.
He's amazing on the road.
Has scored 20-plus points in 9 true road games.
What did he have
Antonio Reeves is an absolute freaking dog. 22 points, 8 of 20 shooting, 3 of 6 from 3, 5 rebounds, 34 minutes. Antonio Reeves is an All-American.
So
the Auburn fan behind me said, is Antonio Reeves a top 5 draft pick? He's not. But Cal stressed even in the postgame where it's like, he came in this season as a pure catch and shoot guy. All he was known for is just an absolute sniper. That translates to the NBA level, but he had to do other pro level things to even be considered for the NBA or, as a draftable prospect. And his ability to become a complete all-around scorer at all 3 levels while locking in defensively, while making the right reads as a passer and just doing things that we've never seen him do over the course of his all-time career, even dating back to Illinois State. He was an unbelievable, he's had such an incredible 5-year career, but we're seeing him peak at a time where Kentucky desperately needs that one guy. And he just hit shot after shot. Adou Thiero, my guy, man, just a human highlight reel. He's as good.
Yes, we got Jeff Goodman here.
About 2 minutes?
Yeah.
All right. What's up, boys?
How's it
How
going?
are you?
We actually
I'm good.
We actually name dropped you at the beginning of this because Cal kind of sounded like he had some things to say about you.
Well, that's what Doster said. I didn't think it was at me. Why would it be at me?
It was definitely about you, man.
What do you mean?
No,
but I don't understand.
You're the national
But wasn't
mean
everybody
guy.
saying the same thing? They weren't guarding anybody.
But your voice projects louder than
my wife says that too.
Than others.
My wife actually says that I'm really loud. So no, this was an unbelievable performance. Like we talked about it before the game. Like you didn't know what you were going to get out of this team, and you haven't known. I don't think anybody, even Cal, thought tonight was going to be like this. Right?
There's Jack did call it.
Really? Did you really? You thought it was going to be like this?
He said they're going to
this defensive effort.
I didn't. I said it was going to be 84-69.
Right.
I thought it was going to be
a shocker.
I thought it was going to be the
59
offensive.
59 points they held them to. Now Auburn again. Like I know everybody's like they beat the shit out of South Carolina and they scored every possession. Mm-hmm. I don't know if Auburn's quite as good. Like their point guard play is not great. It's not. But and Bruce gave Kentucky credit because they came out, and I think like we all questioned their manhood. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I do. I think that was part of it, right? If you keep saying it over and over and over, you don't guard, you guys suck, you can't guard, you don't try, eventually they're going to be like, screw this. Like we're going to come out and we're going to fight, and they've done it the last 2 games. Like they got up into Ole Miss, they got up into Auburn, and even if it's like too physical, which Bruce appeared to think it was.
That kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, like you're going to send the clips to the league. Like, come on, man. Like everybody does that at times, right? Like I'm sure Auburn has done that this year at times to people. So, and now this was fun. This was a fun game to watch. I really like this Kentucky team. I mean, again, their guards are so much fun to watch. Like Dillingham and Shepard and Reeves, you're not going to find a better guard trio than those three. And more fun to watch.
When you came up on us, we were talking about Antonio Reeves as the way his game has grown over the course of the last year. I know you followed Antonio's, career quite closely.
What did
very, 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 very
what
closely.
What did you trying to say?
Unbelievably closely. What do you think of his growth and his, what he's shown, especially here down the stretch?
I even said it to him after the South Carolina game. I said, I'm proud of you because I know what you were going through in the summer. And to come back, buy in like he did, improve the way you have in every aspect where people thought you were a one-dimensional player and you knew you could do more, and that's why you were thinking about going elsewhere, and then become a leader, like with this young group, which you could tell that's not in his nature. That's not in Trey Mitchell's nature either, but they were kind of forced to have to be leaders with this young team. Now, Reeves is unbelievable. I mean, to me, like all-American-ish.
Stephen, you are, I want to give you a second as well because you are known as our emotional reaction individual. You, I'll be totally transparent. Before we walked out the door to Neville Arena, Stephen was watching the 38-1 Wisconsin game like an absolute psychopath, an absolute madman. That's how Stephen spends his time.
So breaking down film.
So I want you guys to understand what's in this guy's DNA and how emotional he is and what these games mean to him, win or lose. What is your reaction to this? Because your reaction is all that matters.
Oh, yeah. No, this is going to be the ride home just got so much better. This is the first time Jack and I will be riding back back to Kentucky with a win. But here's where I was at coming into this. I told you I didn't have much expectation. I'm on like cloud 9 right now. I see it. I see the blueprint. And it was so frustrating to see. I know this team's good. I know each individual player that is on this team is good. And I know Calipari. I talked to you about this on the way up here. I'm like, I know Calipari is a good coach, dude. You don't go on the winning. You don't go 38-1 if you're a bad coach. You don't win. No. You know how many bad coaches that won a national title? Maybe one. UConn in 2014.
Good old Kevin Ollie.
Maybe he wasn't that good. I don't know. But he was good enough to win that year. And I'm just saying, like, if you've been Calipari's coaching multiple championships. He's taken 3 teams to the Final Four. We know he's good. It hasn't been the same Calipari as those times. But I know he has it in him. I know this coaching staff knows basketball, and I know these players are good. You have all you need to win games, and you did it in a scenario. I hate that it has to come down to, well, we don't think Kentucky's winning, and then maybe that's the message to the players, like that no one believes in you. Go out there and prove everybody wrong. If that's what you got to do from now until April 8th or whenever the Final Four is.
This team is clearly different than even some of the mediocre ones that we've seen in the past, where you never really saw the vision with some of the other ones where you're like, yeah, maybe if they just get the right path and somebody gets hot in March, like you always kind of had to talk yourself into it. That's never been the case with this group because we've seen them play at levels that look like national title contenders. With them in Atlanta taking on UNC, that team, you left Atlanta saying that team is capable of winning a national championship if. Then it kind of took it regressed a little bit. Then we started, wondering about the defense and how historically bad they are on that end. And if they could figure out ways to put together stops, and just be mediocre on that. They didn't have to be elite, just be mediocre.
Just be bad.
To let the offense kind of carry things. That's why those takes were always just let this thing play out. And if you want to have the big picture, you got to fire Cal. You got to, this isn't the gold standard of Kentucky basketball anymore. At the end of the season, if it's an opening weekend loss or whatever, have at it because that's seeing the process through from start to finish. That's totally acceptable. Fan how you got to fan, but.
I ride or die with every win or loss.
We can't. That's
kind of Kentucky fans too.
But you're different. You're, and I know some Kentucky fans are different. But this team was always going to be about the long-term ride. It was going to always have some speed bumps, but you can see the vision with this, and that just hit pause. And if they lose another game, if they go down to LSU, you can't go lose that game. But if they were to do that, like understand that doesn't also mean that the trajectory of the program is over either. Take every little tiny detail for what it's worth to get to the sum of all parts, to get to the big picture end of season result, and then make those decisions. Because what we saw today was a national championship level performance. And if they can do this, then the sky is the limit. And I think that's why we got the version of John Calipari that we got after the game. And
not only is the sky not falling,
it was deserved.
The sky is the limit. We're built for March.
I love it.
I want to edit this, and I want to go party afterwards.
This was a blast. I appreciate you guys tuning in. It feels a lot better to do these, especially in a road environment, to walk away and be able to just kind of laugh at the tears. Like I'm soaking up these tears so much because Auburn fans were so pissed off. Those tears do feel good. Jack Pilgrim, Stephen Peak, we're going to go hit the town. Enjoy your all's night. I know I am.
Awesome.